MGX Minerals is revolutionizing the new energy economy with patented lithium extraction technology, replacing traditional solar evaporation using low-cost, low-energy nanofiltration. The first system of this paradigm shift technology is currently being commissioned. MGX Minerals trades on the CSE, symbol XMG, the OTCQB, symbol MGXMF, and Frankfurt, symbol 1MG. For more information, visit our website, mgxminerals.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is market historian Bob Hoye. He's the chief investment strategist for institutionaladvisors.com. Welcome back to the show, Bob.
Yeah, good morning, Jim. Here we are.
Well, I don't know if you can call them the three amigos. We'll be meeting on Sunday. Trudeau, Notley, and Horgan, the premiers of Alberta and Saskatchewan, with the Prime Minister to try to muddle something out of this mess that's become the Kinder Morgan pipeline. Do you think the company was right to say we're not going to spend any more money until we can get this thing straightened out?
Oh, yeah. They've spent billions in good faith as the regulatory process continued. And even this goes back far enough that during the Harper federal government, they did much to clean up the process of getting approvals, because the process was being used by the left, the loony left, to delay expansion of anything. So, but it's come down to an incredibly interesting showdown here, because Trudeau and his liberal governments, they love to cater to the emotions of the crowd, and yet the pipeline has gone through due process and has the approval and is essentially in the hands of the federal government. So here you are, on one side, Trudeau wanting to stay with his buddies on the loony left, which is mob rule. On the other side, you have the federal government and due process, which is a rule of law. And this, of course, is a struggle that's going on in the United States now between the new administration, which was duly elected, and the activists, the Department of Justice, and at the FBI, who want to depose a sitting president. Now, that is and will be a serious constitutional issue. Now, in Canada, it's a pipeline, but it is a serious constitutional issue. Will the Trudeau government continue to cater to the passions of the mob, or will they decide to follow a sound policy whereby it's a rule of law? And at the moment, I'm sort of amused to think that Trudeau is the classic story about a donkey standing midway between two very attractive stacks of hay. Doesn't know which way to go. But the pressure of the media and the pressures from there's bound to be some responsible people somewhere within Ottawa that will force Trudeau to do the right thing, in which case a constitutional crisis is eased. But the problem is you can never, ever satisfy the radical left in protesting whatever they don't like. It's seemingly endless.
Well, it looks like Alberta and Ottawa have some pretty big hammers to bring into play if they want to as well. Alberta
they just have to swing it.
Yeah, well,
and I think this is what when you're saying with this Sunday meeting, the young lad, the child in costumes, Trudeau, is going to have to do the right thing. And it's fascinating. I love it.
Well, I mean, Ottawa could cut transfer payments to BC. Alberta could cut oil shipments. And, you know, when we're paying $1.50 a liter for gasoline already, can you imagine the political fallout and economic damage done by $2 or $3, $4 a liter gasoline.
Yeah, well then what everything was working according to process until you had the election in British Columbia when a minority socialist government resulted, supported by 3 Green members in the Green Party, who were pretty radical. And so this is why it's come to the impasse, is because the Premier, in a minority position, will do anything he can to maintain power. So here again, it comes down to the influence of 3 members in the Legislative Assembly. It's ridiculous, the leverage that they have on this. And of course, a lot of the press against pipelines and stuff is funded by people outside of the country. Tides and Soros and all that sort of stuff. The Russian government, of course, has been very active in funding environmental activist groups within North America and in Europe, so that and against all of the oil and gas sands, horizontal drilling, they've been funding movements against that. And so you've got a case now here, Jim, where the anti-pipeline people in the New England states have made it such that New England, I think it's Maine, has to get natural gas from Russia shipped over. I mean, it gets absurd. And then you also, in Canada, the east part of a proposed pipeline to take oil from the west to the east is opposed. So that then leaves what operates now, which is shipments of heavy crude oil from Venezuela along the Atlantic waters, and they're very concerned about the pristine quality of the waters, but they won't put in a pipeline, so that then those nasty tankers keep shipping. On the West Coast, they don't want a pipeline because they want to save the pristine waters of the Pacific from nasty tankers, and it just doesn't work. It's insane. But it is fascinating to watch this come to a head, and whereby a childlike prime minister is going to be forced to make an adult decision. I think I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
We'll have more with Bob Hoye right after the break.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp., RMO, on the TSX Venture Exchange. Rainy Mountain's Brunswick property is located in the Rideout Shear Zone in Ontario, with grab samples running as high as 32 grams per ton gold. A follow-up drill program to test numerous targets located by recent groundwork is planned for early 2018. Please visit our website at rmroyalty.com.
Vadic Ventures Corp. is a potash exploration company focused on the Korat Basin in Thailand, the world's largest undeveloped potash resource. Vadic's management has extensive potash exploration and development experience in Thailand. Vadic will have marketing advantage compared to Western producers. Drill program commences this spring. Vadic trades on the TSX Venture, symbol VCV, and on Frankfurt, symbol V8V2. Visit our website, vadicventures.com.
Welcome back. We're chatting with Bob Hoye. Bob, President Trump hasn't made it a secret at all that he doesn't really like trade agreements, but apparently he's asked his staff to take a look again at the U.S. joining up with the Trans-Pacific Partnership after walking away from it.
Yeah, he's an opportunist, but basically the noise that's been going on about protectionism and tariffs is not quite on the ball. Essentially what Trump has been doing is trying to reduce the protectionism that, say, China puts on production and services shipped to China. He's also trying to protect the U.S. from the Chinese theft of intellectual property. And in Canada, the NAFTA should be reviewed because it was not to the U.S. advantage, because they didn't bring in a factor such that Canada would cheat by depreciating the currency. So if you take the Canadian dollar relative to the U.S. from par down to into the 70s, that's approaching, well, let's just say a 25% cheat. So, and then of course the Mexican peso did worse for a while as well, and that then was a cheat. So the U.S. wasn't getting a fair deal, and this is Trump, to his credit, is talking about getting a fair deal. But then you've got the communists in Beijing come up and say, oh, tit for tat, you hit me and I'll hit you, which is nonsense. Now, the work we've done on protectionism is that in a post-bubble recession, unemployment at home becomes a very severe problem for politicians, and then they bring in protectionism. So let's just be clear about this. At the moment, Trump is trying to end protectionism against the U.S., but at some time on the next recession, politicians in every country will be seeking protectionist measures on the mad idea that protectionism will protect jobs at home. It is again, Jim, this is going to be another very interesting point.
We'll have more with Bob Hoye right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Bob Hoye. Bob, are you surprised the price of gold isn't higher, given that we have all this trouble in Syria and, trade wars possible between China and the U.S.?
Nope, not at all. Gold's doing what it should be doing, and the world has been in a financial bubble, the biggest one in history, and on all of the great historical bubbles, and the best way to look at gold is that the real price, its purchasing power, deflated by the CPI, and in all great bubbles, the real price of gold goes down. So while the boom is on, and certainly the real price in U.S. dollars is deflated by the U.S. CPI, reached a high in 2011 with that mad speculation in precious metals then, and it tilted all of our technical indicators and pointed out that it was the most dangerous market since 1980 for gold, and it's come down. Now, if you look at the real price on annual averages for gold, you can say that 2016 started to base, and then the year and a bit since, it's been improving slightly, and it's starting to go. This is also as the bubble perhaps has blown itself out. But here's the trick. You've got an improving and will have an improving real price, which directly flows into operating margins. It makes for a bull market for the sector. But the problem is that if this bubble is unwinding, at some point there will be a bear market for the big stock market, and there's no way you can make money out of the gold stocks in that kind of a storm. So our view is that the sector will continue to be dull. Any of the rallies, we formed a little rule of thumb that if you get a 10% rally in gold, all the gold bugs come out and say that it's going to go to 5,000, and then they get quiet when it doesn't move. So the gold bugs have not had a good handle on the markets since 2011. But what we're doing in our research is that gold sector is being set up for a cyclical bull market that will eventually become as exciting as the stock market was in December. So, yes, there will be a recovery in the gold sector. There will be a bull market for the stocks, and it'll eventually get very speculative, but that's going to be some time ago. But at least we've been on the right side of the play since 2011 and haven't suffered any embarrassments on it. But we also have the tools and the ability to identify the great buying opportunity when it arrives. I'm looking forward to it, but it's not yet.
What's your view on the cryptocurrency front?
Oh boy, was that ever fun. Our work, again, and on the technical side with the ChartWorks, made some very good calls through last summer. Then our October 4th edition looked for, and the quote was, everything's going to get bubbled, including the Dow, and that probably it would run through until the end of the year. And that was because previous big speculations, like gold in 1980 peaked in January, and the great Tokyo bubble with the Nikkei, it peaked right in the last trading day of 89. So there was examples where big speculations had run to the end of the year and then failed. Well, the high for the Bitcoin was December 19th, and at that instant it gave all kinds of upside exhaustion signals, sequential sells, and down it came. So Jim, it's highly likely that high for the Bitcoin stuff set in December was the bubble high. It'll take until the fall before this is confirmed. But where this would be getting rid of excesses in the game, but I think the Bitcoin and blockchain phenomenon will continue to advance. The technology is fantastic and it will be used, and my guess is that at some point there will be a Bitcoin that is pretty close to constant purchasing power, and it will then be the place to go rather than the U.S. dollar. The public will eventually demand a sound currency that is immune to the manipulations of central banks. This would be part of a big reformation, where now in the States they're working to try and get the government out of the hands of experts and bureaucrats and back into the hands of the people, the original government by the people. But in order to do that, they would also have to have a currency that the government cannot abuse. And I think it's going to happen. It's going to be very exciting.
Bob, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Here we are, and always good to be with you, Jim.
My guest has been market historian Bob Hoye. He's the chief investment strategist for institutionaladvisors.com. If you have any questions for Bob or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howestreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.